Okay, so before we start this video, I just want to apologise. I said in my last video that this video would be out last Tuesday, but what happened was, at the end of that video and that little illustration thing, I accidentally wrote the wrong dates, and my stupid butt read them out in a video. So it was always supposed to be today, because I knew I'd have uni last week, and I wasn't going to be able to make videos or write or anything, so it was always supposed to be today that this video was coming out, so I am on schedule. But I do apologise if you were waiting for a video last week and it didn't show up. I've updated the little idents at the end, so it's like question mark, whether it's going to come out them days, we'll see. I don't want to say anything's concrete. Anyway, I've spoken for almost a minute now about this, so I apologise. On to the video. For content warnings and a written version of this blog entry, please check the description below. Welcome to the second entry in my Under the Queer Umbrella blog series. In this entry, we shall be discussing multisexual attraction identities. We will explain what multisexual attraction means and break down some identities that fall under this category, also known as M-Spec. I'll also mention how I fit under this category of identities too. Disclaimer. Although I've gone into this blog entry and this video with the best intentions to educate others and done plenty of my own research into these identities by talking to those who identify with these labels and doing online research, I do not have the majority of these identities and therefore cannot speak from personal experience. If I get any information wrong, if you're comfortable, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I will amend the blog entry to this video as needed. My intention is to bring awareness to these identities and to educate on the beauty of queer identities. I encourage you to do your own research alongside this video. You can find the links to all these identities by clicking on the respective links in the comment section below. Don't forget that you can donate to my Cash App to help support my financial needs. You can also directly donate to my GoFundMe to directly help with my transition and to get me my nullo. And I have now opened writing commissions. So basically, if you want a short story that you have in your head that you want to get out but you can't write it for whatever reason, then come to me. I do a pay by the word. If you're in the UK, it's 1p per word. So if you want a 900 word short story, then it's only £9 for just a basic short story, including your own characters and everything. So if you're interested, my email is down below, or you can leave a comment below with your email or whatever. But my email will be down below. Feel free to email me and we will talk about commissions. Now back to the video. So what is multisexual attraction? Multisexual attraction falls under the M-Spec umbrella. This is a group of identities which are attracted to more than one gender. For example, if you are attracted to men and women, you can consider yourself multisexual. Multisexuals can also identify with single attraction identity terms. However, this is down to the individual. It's always best to listen, learn, and respect the identity labels of others in order to make them feel safe. Multisexual attraction at first seems rather easy to understand, but no one M-Spec identity is the same. We are all unique, and it's easy for misinformation to be spread. This leads to issues such as M-Spec erasure, where an identity is stripped away in order to simplify it to fit society's monosexual favouring lens. As I mentioned in my last entry, there is nothing wrong with being monosexual, but it's important to understand that society has always favoured those who are as opposed to those who are multisexual. Monosexism can present itself in many different ways. Some of the most obvious forms of monosexism are calling multisexuals greedy. This implies that they chose to be attracted to multiple identities, which is just not the case, and no multisexual's identity is greedy. Not all multisexuals are interested in things such as threesomes or polyamory. I plan to release a video dedicated to relationship structures down the line. It's important to remember that multisexuality is not a monolith. There is no one right way to be multisexual. Just like any other identity, Now, this list is by no means comprehensive, but it includes some of the most recognisable M-Spec identities and some which, though are not as well known, are far more common than you may think, and are not included in enough conversations. So without further ado, let's talk about M-Spec identities. Multisexual. As mentioned above, multisexual is an umbrella term for all multisexual attraction identities. It is not a monolith, and the way others choose to label their own identity is never incorrect, and so long as it's not harming any other identities, which is usually always the case, unless the identity is specifically created with the intention to be exclusionary, such as super straight, etc., then it's really none of your business how they choose to refer to themselves. If you are attracted to more than one gender, you have every right to call yourself multisexual. If you refer to yourself by both a single attraction identity term alongside an M-Spec term, you have every right to call yourself multisexual. You choose the terms that fit you, and only you can choose them. We all need to learn to respect that. Pluralian. Another way to refer to M-Spec identities is by using the term pluralian. This is mostly the same as multisexual but offers more options with how you can refer to yourself. It's important that we don't create a one-term-fits-all situation because in reality that's impossible. We need many terms meaning the same thing so that more can find their own individual identity terms and can personalise them to fit them. Bisexual. Bi. When thinking of multisexual identities, I'm sure most of you immediately thought of bisexual or bi, as it's commonly referred to. And you would be correct. Bi is absolutely an M-Spec identity. Bisexual refers to those who are attracted to two or more genders. Notice how I included the more. This is to make the identity more inclusive towards those who identify as non-binary. I'm so sorry, I lost where I was reading. This is to make the identity more inclusive towards those who are non-binary. As when you think of bi, I'm sure your immediate assumption is a man that's attracted to men and women, or a woman that is attracted to women and men. And whilst those identities can be and absolutely are often referred to as bi, they are not the only forms of attraction that could be considered bi. Those who are non-binary can be bi, those who are attracted to men and those who are men-aligned can be bi. There is no right way to be bi, and it's important that we don't make a bi a monolith. This idea of monolithizing, pretty sure I just made that term up, but go with me on this, identities is without a doubt problematic. Stop trying to give us all into boxes. Stop trying to put us all into boxes. We are all unique and we are all awesome. Personally, I refer to myself as bi, though not bisexual, just bi, because for me it makes it clear that I am attracted to two or more genders. However, there is a more specific term I use that we will discuss later on. Biflexible. Biflexible is a term that refers to those who identify primarily as bi but consider their attraction to be flexible. This could present itself in many ways. The preference of gender they're attracted to may fluctuate, or they may be open to genders outside of the primarily genders they're attracted to. It's important not to confuse being biflexible with being bicurious. The simple difference is that those who use the term biflexible are already bi, but those who are bicurious do not consider themselves to be. Bicurious. Bicurious is a term used by monosexuals who are usually heterosexual that are curious or open to having relationships with those with genders outside of the gender they are primarily attracted to. For example, a straight man who is primarily attracted to women may be curious about having a relationship of some kind with a man. Being curious is nothing to be ashamed of. If you are bicurious and interested in exploring this, and you are in a relationship of any kind, it's important that you discuss this with your partner or partners, if safe to do so. It's the respectful thing to do. Bisexual gay, bi-gay. Recently, you may have heard the discourse focused around bisexual lesbians, or bi-lesbians as they are more commonly referred to as, but bi-lesbians are not the only monosexual identity that can be paired with the M-Spec identity. All monosexual identities, as mentioned in my previous entry, can be paired with M-Spec identities, including gay. Bisexual gay is not a monolith. It can mean bisexuals that consider themselves to be both straight and gay, depending on their relationship. This can only be decided by them and them alone. As I mentioned, do not force identity terms into those who are bi because it's bi erasure. It can also refer to those who primarily identify with the term gay, but experience romantic attraction to those of either similar or dissimilar genders. There is no correct way to be bi. Bisexual lesbians, bi-lesbians. As I mentioned recently, there have been a lot of discourse around the existence of M-Spec lesbians, especially bisexual and pansexual lesbians. The fact of the matter is they exist. You can't stop them from existing, and they absolutely have the right to continue existing. Just like with bisexual gays, being a bi-lesbian is not a monolith, and it does not necessarily indicate that these lesbians are attracted to men, since they may be attracted to genders outside of their own that are still woman-aligned, if the lesbian in question is a woman themselves. Now we will be talking about a harmful identity, M-Spec Exclusionists, battle axe bisexuals. Since we are about to talk about M-Spec identities that are not bi, I thought it was important to mention that all these identities that follow are valid, and if you see this flag that is on the screen, or those who refer to themselves as battle axe bisexuals or band-aid bisexuals, you are dealing with a bisexual that doesn't believe in any of the following identities, and that they should be considered M-Spec identities. This is obviously not how the majority of those who are bi feel. I just wanted to draw your attention to the flag so you know who to ignore if you ever come across it. Now on to some positive identities. Pansexual or pan. Alongside bi, pan or pansexual by its full name is probably one of the most well-known multisexualities out there. Despite this, there are a lot of misconceptions surrounding this identity label. Many think of it as just another word for bi, and though there are some who do use bi and pan interchangeably for themselves, for the most part bi and pan are different. Trying to pinpoint one specific definition for pan is difficult, because all those who are pan have different ideas of what it means to be pan. For them, one of the most common definitions you'll find is that those who are pan feel attraction regardless of gender identity, otherwise known as being gender blind. This does not mean they are attracted to all, like any sexuality is different for us all. Those who are pan feel attraction the same way as you do. They like some, they don't like others. It's that simple. Claiming that any multisexual identity likes everything under the sun and is greedy is a form of monosexism, or in this case, panphobia. It's impossible to give each identity a definition that all those who use the term identify with. That's why it's always important to remember that when it comes to definitions I'm giving, you need to look at them as a guide, not as a concrete standard. When it comes to identity, how you use a term for yourself is far more important than whatever a dictionary says about it. So however those who are pan describe their identity, whether it's interchangeable with bi or not, they are always correct. Polysexual or poly. Polysexuality, not to be confused with polyamory, which is a type of relationship structure, is the attraction to some but not all. For example, those who are polysexual may be attracted to all genders with the exception of men. They may or may not have a preference, and they may or may not experience a difference between genders. It all depends on the poly individual. It's also important to note that poly is used for polysexuals, and for those in polyamorous relationships, you use polyam. Again, I will discuss relationship structures in a future entry. Omnisexual. Omnisexuality is the attraction to all genders, much like pansexuality, but where the definition of pan describes pansexuals as being gender blind, a term that should not be used to describe those who are pan unless they specify that they refer to themselves as such, omnis experience different genders in different ways, so their attraction to men is not experienced in the same way as it would be for women, for example. Bi, pan, poly, and omni are often considered the big four, maybe not out loud, but they are certainly thought of as such. But it's important to remember that they can all be used alongside each other and other identity labels. Multisexual identity is more important. No multisexual identity is more important than another. Just because something is more well known does not mean the identities that are less well known are inferior. We will now discuss some M-Spec identities you probably haven't heard of. Uranic. Now we come to another one of my identities, a term I didn't even know existed until around a month ago, but once I discovered it, everything made sense. Uranic is the attraction to masculine-aligned men and non-binary identities, and neutral identities too. As I mentioned, this is a term I personally use for myself. I always struggled with how the term bi fit me. I knew I was multisexual and who I was attracted to, but I didn't know there was a term specifically for that attraction, so I just stuck with bi. Now I refer to myself as both bi and uranic, bi-uranic, with bi referring to the fact I'm attracted to two or more genders, but uranic acting as the specifier of what type of bi I am. This is just how I use the term personally. Others may have different opinions, and as I mentioned with pansexuality, none of us are wrong. Neptunic. Neptunic is the attraction to women and non-binary identities that are feminine aligned or neutral. Like Uranic, and as you'll see with Saturnic, it's mostly used by those who are non-binary and or genderqueer and or gender fluid as an alternative to terms such as bi-lesbian, which some see as being binary-centric. It can, however, be used by those of any gender, and it's non-exclusive. Saturnic. Saturnic is the attraction to those who are androgynous and non-binary. However, this attraction can apply to any gender that expresses itself androgynously, hence why it's considered an M-Spec identity along with Uranic and Neptunic. It's important to note that androgyny is not a gender identity. It's a form of expression, much like masculinity, femininity, neutrality, etc. You can be attracted to expression, but that does not make it a gender. Not all those who are non-binary express themselves androgynous. That's why you can have masc-aligned and femme-aligned non-binary identities. Those of us who are non-binary do not owe you androgyny. No-homosexual. Those who are no-homosexual are attracted to all genders with the exception of binary women. This means they are attracted to men, non-binary identities that are masc, femme, neutral, aligned, etc. They are just not attracted to binary women. It's similar to Uranic, however it differs because those who are Uranic are only attracted to those who are masculine aligned. Nomosexual. Those who are nomosexual are attracted to all genders with the exception of binary men. This means they are attracted to women, non-binary identities that are masc, femme, neutral, aligned, etc. They are just not attracted to binary men. It's similar to Neptunic, however it differs because those who are Neptunic are only attracted to those who are feminine aligned. Amorsexual. Those who are amorsexual are inclusive in who they choose to date. It doesn't matter if they are cis, trans, or xenogender. It doesn't matter what pronouns or expression they use. They may prefer to use the term amorsexual as they don't feel another M-Spec label fits them or they are uncomfortable using another. This identity puts personality before any other form of attraction. Abrosexual. Those who are abrosexual experience their sexual attraction as fluid or changing. They can go between being monosexual to multisexual, allosexual to asexual. The way their identity changes is different for all abrosexuals. For some, it may be a slow transition between identities, and for others, it may be in quick succession. Some are fluid between many identities, whereas others are only fluid between a few. Again, it is different for all abrosexuals. Resexual. Resexuals fall under the abrosexual umbrella. Those who are resexual experience the way their attraction shifts based on external factors, such as mood or even based on what they've eaten. Ambivaiac. The final identity on our list today is ambivaiac. Those who are ambivaiac have no preference towards any gender and may or may not consider themselves gender fluid. So there we go. Multisexual attraction identities. As you can see, is way more than just bi and pan. Next time we will be discussing the asexual spectrum, better known as A-Spec. Please do your own research alongside these entries, and I hope to see you all next time. If you would like to support my channel and me, please consider donating to my Cash App. Go follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and don't forget to check out my website where you can find all where you can find all my content in one place. Don't forget that you can also commission me to do short stories. So on Thursday I plan to release the short story based on The Little Red Hen, and on Saturday, since it is the first anniversary of A Donut from Gatekeeping, I plan to release chapters 4 and 5. I will see you all next time. I love you all. Bye.